satisfaction.
Then remove the receiver and listen for the dial tone. It sounds like this.
Be all that you can be.
Get ready for a blast from the past. From pet rocks to mood rings. We're uncovering 30 obsolete things that baby boomers grew up with, but have since faded into memory. Number 30. VHS tapes.
Now I need some good tape.
Let's rewind the time to the 1960s and 70s when Friday nights meant cruising the aisles of a video store, hunting for the perfect VHS tape to time shift their favorite TV shows. Baby boomers would copy TV shows or films from Blockbuster to watch at a later time, always having a queue of unwatched films and TV shows to watch later. They were great for recording sports that you were unable to watch live. Just like today, don't tell me who won the game, I'm watching it when I get home. You'd be surprised how hard it was to successfully record stuff. Setting the VCR was like cracking the Da Vinci Code. Despite the rise of DVDs and streaming services, many baby boomers still enjoy the thrill of hunting for more rare VHS titles and popping them into their VCRs for an entertaining night. Number 29. Rolodex. Before digital devices became ubiquitous, Rolodexes were essential for storing business contacts, phone numbers, and important dates. These rotating file devices allowed users to quickly find information by flipping through alphabetically organized cards. Unlike notebooks, which required sifting through pages, Rolodexes provided a compact and efficient way to manage contacts. Each Rolodex typically had lettered tabs, making it easy to organize contacts by name. Many also featured plastic sleeves for holding business cards, further enhancing their utility. In an office environment, a Rolodex was invaluable for swiftly locating phone numbers or addresses without the hassle of searching through a traditional address book. To millennials, this might seem like a cumbersome approach, but Rolodexes were remarkably effective for their time. They ensured that vital contact information was always at your fingertips, ready to be accessed with a quick spin and a flip. Number 28. Shag carpet in bathrooms. Remember shag carpets in bathrooms? Baby boomers sure do. Back in the 1960s and 70s, these fluffy carpets weren't just for living rooms, they covered bathroom floors, adding a cozy touch. Stepping onto a soft, thick shag carpet after a bath felt great, but keeping them clean was a hassle. They often got moldy and were hard to maintain. The bathroom walls nearby would frequently be damaged and molded. The carpeted accessories were often bought to match the toilet and toilet tanks, which used to come in a variety of colors. This was another way to dress up your bathroom, unsavory though it was. Eventually, people realized tiles and easy-to-clean rugs were much more practical. Nowadays, shag carpets in bathrooms are a thing of the past. But for baby boomers, they bring back memories of a time when home decor was all about comfort and style, even if it wasn't always practical. It's a nostalgic reminder of the unique and colorful trends from decades ago. Number 27. Beaded curtains. Beaded curtains were pretty common in households in the 1960s and 70s, and baby boomers fondly remember them. These decorative room dividers added a touch of bohemian flair to any home. Kids loved running their fingers through the strands, creating a gentle clatter as they played hide and seek. Cats, on the other hand, saw them as the ultimate toy, batting and pawing at the dangling beads. While beaded curtains brought a unique, playful vibe to a space, they weren't always practical. They could easily become tangled, and with pets in the house, maintaining them was a constant challenge. Strands would break or fall off, leaving gaps that ruined the aesthetic. Plus, cleaning them was a hassle, as dust and dirt would accumulate on the beads. Today, beaded curtains have mostly disappeared from homes, replaced by more modern and functional decor. However, if a baby boomer ever came across one, They would almost certainly run their fingers through the strands, creating that familiar clatter and bringing back a wave of nostalgia. Number 26. Bank passports. Bank passports were a key part of personal finance for many baby boomers. Sized similarly to a passport and made of durable paper, these passbooks were your official record of money in the bank, especially for savings accounts. Each visit to the bank required you to bring this little book with you, whether to make a deposit or withdrawal. Every few months you'd bring it in for an update, where a bank clerk would manually stamp or write in your new balance and interest earned. In the 1970s and 60s, when statement savings accounts started emerging, many people remained skeptical. The idea of keeping track of their money on a giant computer felt strange and impersonal compared to the tangible reassurance of a passbook. However, passbooks also created a false sense of security. They provided a single point of failure. If you had the passbook, you pretty much had access to the account. Unlike online banking or statement savings, which required more rigorous security protocols, the passbook's charm was more about appearance than actual safety. Number 25. Mood rings. Mood rings were a standout trend in the 1970s, and baby boomers remember them as a captivating and quirky accessory. They were said to measure body temperature and change colors in response. The idea was that the color shift could reflect a person's mood, with each color supposedly indicating different emotional states, from calm blue to energetic green. Some mood rings turned black, which led to superstitions that it signified something ominous, like impending doom or even death. In reality, the black color often just meant that the wearer was experiencing significant stress or temperature drop. Despite their scientific inaccuracies, mood rings captivated imaginations and sparked conversations. For baby boomers, mood rings evoke a nostalgic reminder of a time when personal style and superstition danced together on their fingers. Number 24. Carbon paper.
I need a miracle.
Carbon paper was once a staple in offices, allowing multiple copies of documents to be made in one go. Sheets of carbon paper were placed between pages to create duplicates, a process crucial for record keeping and correspondence. In an office environment where thousands of these sheets were used daily, separating them was an important yet difficult task. To handle this, a machine called a decollator was employed. It was a bulky, all-metal contraption designed to peel apart the layers of carbon paper efficiently. However, the decollator came with its own set of problems. The intense static electricity it generated could be dangerously high. Operators had to constantly touch the machine to ground it and prevent electrical shocks, making the job not only monotonous, but risky. Nowadays, carbon paper is largely obsolete, replaced by digital methods that eliminate the need for such laborious and hazardous processes. Number 23. Payphones. Payphones were once a common sight on street corners and in public spaces, vital for communication before cell phones became ubiquitous. Baby boomers would remember how these public telephones were essential, especially for teenagers navigating their social lives. Without a mobile phone, the payphone at school or downtown was a lifeline for making calls, whether for arranging meetups or sometimes pulling pranks. In the mid-1980s, as caller ID began to make its mark, payphones became the perfect tool for anonymous mischief. Baby boomers would remember walking downtown streets, slipping dimes into every payphone they passed, and dialing the same number over and over to breathe heavily into the receiver. The novelty of anonymity often drove people to change their phone numbers in frustration. Today, with everyone carrying phones in their pockets, payphones have largely vanished. Yet, for baby boomers, they evoke a time when communication was more public and the thrill of a prank was just a dime away. Number 22. Ashtrays in public places. In the mid-'80s, one of the closing duties at a grocery store was cleaning the butt cans, those ubiquitous ashtrays found in every public space. Back then, smoking was everywhere, even in supermarkets. The haze of smoke-filled bars, concerts, and fairs, creating a cloud that was just a part of the ambience. Ashtrays were common, often placed prominently at events and in public areas, reflecting a culture when smoking was accepted and integrated into daily life. Even non-smoking households kept an ashtray on hand for guests who might need it. Fast forward a decade, and the landscape has changed dramatically. Smoking bans transformed public spaces, and ashtrays became relics of a bygone era. Today, it's hard to imagine a time when candy cigarettes were a novelty and people casually puffed away in enclosed spaces. For baby boomers, the memory of those ashtrays is a striking reminder of how swiftly and profoundly societal norms can evolve. Number 21. Library card catalog. Library card catalogs were once the heart of any library, and baby boomers remember them fondly. These wooden cabinets, with their neatly organized drawers, held index cards that cataloged every book in the library. Each card provided details about the book's author, title, and subject, and often included a checkout card with stamps indicating how frequently the book had been borrowed. There was a special pleasure in discovering a hidden gem, a book that hadn't been checked out in years, adding a sense of adventure to each visit. Flipping through the catalog cards was not just about finding one book, it was about uncovering other intriguing titles along the way. This tactile discovery process contrasted sharply with today's digital searches, which are laser-focused but lack the charm of browsing through physical cards. Now replaced by computer databases, the card catalog has become a nostalgic reminder of a time when the smell of paper and the thrill of finding a forgotten book were part of the library experience. Number 20. Record holders' cabinets. If you grew up in the 1970s as a baby boomer, chances are you've got a sizable record collection tucked away somewhere. In those days, every music enthusiast's home boasted at least one record holder or cabinet. From simple trays to elaborate cabinets, these pieces of furniture were more than just storage, they were a statement of your dedication to vinyl. A well-organized record collection was almost as essential as having a high-quality record player. Vinyl records weren't just music, they were treasured artifacts. Whether it was a sleek rack, a sturdy stand, or your precious albums, the way you stored your records reflected your love for the art form. These storage solutions weren't just functional, they were a core part of the music experience, making each record feel special. Number 19. Paper maps. Paper maps were once essential for navigating the world, and baby boomers remember them well. Before GPS and smartphones, these maps were crucial tools for road trips, vacations, and finding your way around town. Folded neatly in the glove compartment, a paper map would unfurl to reveal a maze of roads, landmarks, and distances. Using them required a bit of skill. You had to orient the map with the direction you were heading and plan your route by following the lines and symbols. Marking your location and tracking progress often meant handling multiple folds and creases. Despite their bulkiness, paper maps were a reliable and tangible way to explore. They were great for discovering new routes and landmarks, often leading to spontaneous adventures. Number 18. Car windows that roll up and down with hand cranks. Car windows with hand cranks were a familiar sight in many vehicles from the past. Rolling the window up and down with a simple hand crank was a manual way to adjust airflow or enjoy a breeze. Although it might have been slower than modern electric windows, there was something satisfying about the tactile feel of cranking the handle and watching the window move. For baby boomers, hand crank windows evoke fond memories of road trips and family vacations. Kids would compete to see who could crank the fastest. Today's automatic windows offer convenience with just a push of a button, or for vintage hand crank users, just moving a crank slightly up. Yet for those who grew up with hand cranks, there's a certain nostalgic charm to those simpler, more hands-on days of driving. Number 17. Static on unused TV channels. Static on unused TV channels is a vivid memory for many baby boomers. Before digital TV and streaming, when the channels went off air, the screen would fill with a noisy, hissing static that seemed to buzz with the energy of the universe itself. It was a signature sound of a TV station signing off for the night, often followed by the somber tones of the Star-Spangled Banner. Baby boomers recall the quiet hours after prime time when the only thing left on the screen was the endless static. It was a signal that the day's programming was over and a time when TV was a more scheduled, less constant pressure. Kids might have tried to adjust the antennas to clear up the fuzz, while parents would switch off the set and head for bed. For many, that static was a nightly ritual and a reminder of a time when television had a more defined start and end to each day. Number 16. Macrame plant hangers. Macrame plant hangers were a defining feature of home decor in the 1970s, and they hold a special place in the memories of many baby boomers. These hand-knotted creations, often adorned with colorful beads and fringes, transformed houseplants into floating pieces of art. Baby boomers might recall afternoons spent at craft fairs where they'd pick up a macrame hanger to brighten up a room or a porch. For some, macrame plant hangers were a weekend project, a way to bond with family while sitting around the living room and chatting. Kids might have helped by choosing the beads or holding the knots, while parents meticulously crafted each hanger. As the years passed and home decor trends evolved, these macrame hangers faded into obscurity, replaced by sleek, modern plant stands. But for the baby boomers, the memory of those knotted creations and the scent of fresh cord is a nostalgic reminder of a simpler, craft-filled era. Number 15. CRT monitors and television. CRT monitors and TVs were once the centerpieces of home entertainment. These bulky, boxy screens were the go-to for everything from Saturday morning cartoons to epic video game marathons. Friends would gather around the living room, controllers in hand, to battle it out on early game consoles. The CRT's vibrant colors and occasional flickers adding to the excitement. Family evenings often revolved around the TV, from watching the nightly news to enjoying the latest sitcoms, with the static screen on channels left unused a common sight. Adjusting the antenna for a clearer picture or dealing with the static when a channel wasn't coming in perfectly were just part of the experience. Now, with sleek, flat screens dominating the market, those old CRTs might be a thing of the past, but they are a nostalgic reminder to many baby boomers of how big a presence, literally and figuratively, they were in their lives. Number 14. Incinerators in apartment buildings. In the era of apartment living for many baby boomers, incinerators were a common fixture in buildings. Up on each floor, there was a hatch where residents could toss their garbage down a chute. The garbage would travel down to the basement, where the incinerator awaited its fiery fate. The process seemed efficient. Just a quick toss and the trash was gone. Kids of the time would remember the black ash that would sometimes rain down like snow from the incinerator, a telltale sign that garbage was being reduced to cinders. Despite the novelty, using these incinerators came with its own set of hassles. Special heavy-duty bags were required, and full bags could be cumbersome to pull up and out of the chute. Motor reliability issues were common, adding to the frustration. While trash compactors from the 1950s and 60s were designed to simplify waste management, they often proved more trouble than they were worth. Number 13. Phone books. Phone books were once a cornerstone of everyday life. These hefty books were the go-to resource for finding phone numbers, addresses, and even local businesses. For many, the ritual of flipping through the thick, yellowing pages was a routine part of solving everyday problems. Baby boomers might recall Saturday afternoons spent scouring the phone book for the number of the local pizza place or the address of a friend from school. Kids would use the colorful yellow pages too to play games, such as trying to spot the longest business name. The satisfaction of finding a number after searching through countless listings was a small victory. Phone books were convenient before the internet and smartphones took over. However, with digital directories offering instant access and search capabilities, the bulky printed phone book has largely been replaced. Number 12. Answering machines.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep.
In the days before smartphones and voicemail, answering machines were the go-to for managing missed calls. These clunky devices, often perched on a side table, would pick up calls when no one was home, or when one didn't want to attend certain calls, allowing callers to leave a message. Each machine came with a cassette tape that recorded every message, making it a source of both excitement and dread. Baby boomers might recall the thrill of hearing a friend's creative or funny recording greeting, or the frustration of wading through a long, rambling message just to find out who called. The suspense of retrieving a new message was part of the fun, and sometimes the hang-up message, a caller who simply hung up before leaving anything behind, added an element of mystery. Rotary dial phones. These classic phones required you to dial each number by turning a rotating dial with your finger. For many, it was a bit like a phone workout, as you had to spin the dial all the way around to each digit. Baby boomers might recall the thrill of dialing their crush's number, anxiously listening to the phone ring. There was something oddly satisfying about the clickety-clack of the dial and the feeling of connecting with someone in a world where each call took a bit more effort. They might also recall how calling long distance involved a few extra steps, like dialing an operator to connect the call. And who could forget the dreaded moment when you'd misdialed, forcing you to start the entire dialing process over again, all while hearing the phone's distinctive clickety-clack sound. Though rotary phones eventually fell out of favor as touch-tone phones and smartphones offered faster, more efficient ways to dial numbers. Number 11. Typewriters. Before keyboards took over, typewriters were the go-to for writing and documentation. These machines required a firm press on each key to make an imprint on the paper, resulting in a clack with every letter that was satisfying to some, while annoying to others. Boomers might recall the rhythmic ding at the end of each line, signaling the need to manually shift the carriage to the next line. Typing on a typewriter came with its own set of challenges. Mistakes meant reaching for correction tape or fluid, which often led to messy patches on the paper. Replacing ribbons and dealing with the occasional jamming of keys was a routine part of the process too. Companies stopped using typewriters in the mid-1980s when office computers with printers became ubiquitous. But in between typewriters and computers, there were some typewriters with a small screen and some memory. You could type up a paragraph or two, check over the spelling and grammar, and then hit a button and the typewriter would begin printing out your letters on the paper. And that was fascinating to watch. Number 10. Oil lamps. Baby boomers from the 1970s and 80s will remember the distinctive feel of oily hands every time they reached for an oil lamp. These charming fixtures were common in homes, not just for their practical use, but also for their elegance. Oil lamps came in an array of beautiful designs, from intricately patterned glass to ornate metalwork, each adding a touch of vintage grace to any room. For many, lighting an oil lamp was a ritual, carefully filling the reservoir, trimming the wick, and then watching the soft, flickering light cast gentle shadows on the walls. Some lamps, known as rain lamps, had a unique feature. Oil would trickle down in a mesmerizing pattern, creating a constant, soothing flow that would never seem to wash away completely. Baby boomers might recall the warm glow of these lamps during power outages or cozy family gatherings, and oftentimes the haunted stories were told under these lamps. Number 9. Film strip projectors. Let's take a trip down memory lane to the days of film strip projectors, an educational tool many baby boomers remember well. These projectors, with their bulky design and click-clack operation, were common in classrooms before the era of digital slideshows. Teachers would load a long strip of 35mm film into the machine, and students would gather around, eager to see the latest educational film. Baby boomers might recall the excitement of watching film strips on rainy school days, with the occasional mechanical hiccup causing a momentary pause. Oftentimes, these projectors would also be set up in teenagers' garages back in the old days to watch horror shows and films. Students back in the days would also remember that being tasked to control the film strip projector was a lot of pressure. One missed beep, and the whole presentation could fall apart. Number 8. Mailbox flags. Back in the days, checking your mail involved more than just a quick glance at your smartphone. Baby boomers will remember the old-fashioned mailbox with its red mailbox flag. These mailboxes were mounted on posts outside homes, and children and adults both would always be eager to see if the mailbox flag was up, indicating that a new batch of letters or packages had arrived. The excitement of receiving a handwritten letter or parcel, expected or unexpected, was unlike any other. Oftentimes, baby boomers in their teenage days would anticipate the arrivals of letters from their pen pals. Not just that, but also birthday cards from distant relatives or catalogs filled with holiday gift ideas. There was a certain magic in finding a colorful postcard from a friend's vacation or a carefully wrapped care package from a loved one. Number 7. The telex machine. Baby boomers remember the distinctive sound of the telex machine, a precursor to the fax machine and email. These electromechanical devices, with their ticking keys and rolling paper, transmitted typed messages over phone lines. They revolutionized business communication. In the pre-digital era, telex machines connected businesses, governments, and individuals across distances. Boomers remember sending and receiving messages, often in real time, and the excitement of seeing words appear on paper as they were typed. The telex machine was a harbinger of instant communication, a bridge between the telegraph and the internet. On special occasions, families would send telex messages to loved ones abroad, eagerly awaiting the response. These personal moments, facilitated by the telex machine, remain etched in the memories of baby boomers. Number 6. The slide rule. The slide rule was a trusted companion for math whizzes and engineers in the 1960s and 70s. This analog device, with its logarithmic scales and sliding cursors, helped solve complex calculations with ease. In classrooms, slide rules were the ultimate symbol of nerdiness, with students competing to solve problems the fastest. The sound of sliding cursors and scratching pencils on paper filled the air as users arrived at correct answers with a sense of satisfaction. From balancing checkbooks to determining building designs, the slide rule was the primary tool for calculations. Some classrooms had those big 6-foot-long slide rules mounted above the blackboard that the teacher would move with their pointer. Every college-bound student was taught to use the slide rule, and we were expected to use them for tests. As electronic calculators emerged, the slide rule's popularity waned, eventually becoming a nostalgic relic of a bygone era. Number 5. Telephone operators. In the pre-digital age, telephone operators were the guardians of communication, connecting callers with precision. With their calm voices and nimble fingers, they navigated switchboards, patching through calls and providing directory assistance. From urgent business deals to tender declarations of love, operators facilitated the flow of conversation. Some boomers remember using operators to collect calls, reversing charges to surprised loved ones, or sharing unexpected news. Others recall operators assisting with party lines, where multiple households shared a single phone line, and the operator would politely ask, "Which party, please?" Boomers also appreciate the operator's role in times of crisis, such as during natural disasters or power outages, when they help connect emergency calls. For boomers, the telephone operator's voice was a comforting presence, a human touch in a rapidly changing world. As automation replaced operators, boomers felt a sense of loss, but their memories of these patient, helpful voices remain vivid. Number 4. Pet rocks. Baby boomers fondly remember pet rocks, the ultimate low-maintenance companion of the 1970s. These smooth stones, often adorned with cute eyes and endearing names, captured hearts with their simplicity. Baby boomers would eagerly unwrap their pet rock, carefully place it in its special carrier, and proudly display it on their shelf. They would even lovingly care for it, as if it were a real pet, and create tiny accessories for it. Some boomers would take their pet rocks on adventures, tucking them away safely in their pocket or purse. Others would use their rock as a confidant, sharing secrets and stories too. As weird as this sounds, this was actually quite the fad back in the 1960s and 70s. As the fad faded, pet rocks were left to gather dust. The pet rock may be obsolete, but for some reason, its place in boomer hearts remains rock solid. Number 3. Bump starting a car. Only baby boomers would remember the art of bump starting a car, a technique that was once essential for reviving dead batteries and stalled engines. With a stalled vehicle, a friend's car, and a bit of know-how, boomers would carefully position the vehicles, engage the clutch, and push-start the car to life. Others would push-start the car, running alongside it until it roared back to life, which was quite dangerous too. If you ask me, sometimes the bump start would attract a crowd, with passers-by offering advice or a helping hand. In rural areas, boomers would often rely on bump starting to get to school or work, braving snow, ice, and flooded roads. Bump starting a car was something that a baby boomer had to learn, especially if they were driving a lot quite frequently. Obviously, no one would like to sit on the sidewalk with a stalled car, waiting for some other driver to help them, as they would risk being alone on a remote road, especially if it was starting to get dark. Number 2. Peacock chairs. Peacock chairs, with their iconic wide, fan-shaped backs and intricate wicker patterns, were commonly seen in many homes during the 1960s and 70s. Baby boomers will remember these elaborate thrones as symbols of casual elegance and a touch of exotic flair. Often found in living rooms or sunrooms, they were the perfect spot for reading a book or lounging with friends. Many recall family gatherings where the peacock chair was the seat of honor, often reserved for the matriarch or patriarch of the family. These chairs were frequently featured in family photos too, becoming the backdrop for countless memories. Though today they are largely replaced by modern designs, peacock chairs evoke a sense of nostalgia. Nothing beats the majestic feeling while sitting on a peacock chair. Number 1. Charm bracelets. The charm bracelet is a nostalgic relic that many baby boomers remember fondly. These bracelets, adorned with small, meaningful charms, were personal storyboards, each charm representing a significant memory or milestone. Each bracelet had a story about the bearer and often was in the shape of a meaningful object, such as a tiny graduation cap, a mini Eiffel Tower, or sometimes something as random as a ship anchor. Not just that, but baby boomers would also collect charm bracelets, as these were often given as gifts on birthdays or special occasions. Others would recall the hours they would spend in jewelry shops, deciding on the perfect bracelet that would commemorate a memorable occasion. Charm bracelets were not just accessories, but personal heirlooms passed down through generations. As fashion trends shifted and minimalism took hold, these intricate pieces became less common. Today, with digital photos and social media capturing our memories, charm bracelets remain a sentimental keepsake of a time when memories were worn on our wrists. Well, that's a wrap. Share your favorite nostalgic moments, and be sure to subscribe for more retro content. Let's revisit the good old days again soon.